Lenny Reed, Dynamite Diesel. Mitch, what are we doing today? Working on Blue Truck, Blue Truck things.
Having some fun stuff with some big horsepower motor.
I wanted to bring to you guys a video about 12 valves and how good they can start when the governor springs are adjusted correctly, when the throttle linkage is adjusted correctly, and spend, kind of some good amount of time. We'll probably be here for about a half day. Normally, this is something that Mitch and I could do in like an hour and a half total, and it would just be boom, start every time perfectly. But since we're gonna have to go a little bit slower and slow things down, explain to the camera and you guys, I'm hoping that you can follow along with this and get your trucks to run as good as this one does. Currently, where this pump came from, Kevin, right?
Yep, this is our 12.5 millimeter pump.
Right off the pump stand. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult for a guy with an electric motor, or any motor for that sake, to drive a P7100 like the starter does. When you hit the starter, you hit the ignition in the truck, and the starter starts driving the injection pump, it needs to produce a certain amount of cc's to even get the truck to start correctly. Now, things that can change that are gonna be delivery valves, injectors, pop-off pressure of the injectors, obviously the injection pump, especially the throttle linkage on the side of the pump, and the way that the idle spring versus governor spring is shimmed up. So we're gonna go through all that stuff with you guys today and help you get your truck dialed in. So Mitch, I've got my little CompuStart remote start thing here. It probably won't start until we push down on the safety switch. Forever, pump guys have told me that you're not supposed to be able to start a P7100 pump without resting your toe on the gas pedal. And sometimes we accentuate that and make it worse with aftermarket parts and aftermarket setups. That being said, we have trucks that start very, very, very well.
Yes.
Without having to step on the throttle. Yep. And if you don't step on the throttle, if you have everything else set up correctly, you won't get that big black woof of smoke the moment that it does start up. So as you can see, there's no driver in the pickup. I'm gonna push the remote start, and we are going to time. This is not gonna be exact science, but I will hit start and you'll hit start the moment that we hear the starter start cranking. And then once it lights, we'll hit stop. Yep. And we'll blend the average.
Yeah, we'll get an average.
We'll get an average of how much better we can get this thing to start today.
12 valve test.
And bear in mind, this thing just came from the injection pump shop. Nobody's ever done this. And this, to me, the only way that I know how to do this is actually bolting the injection pump in the truck, setting up everything, and then doing this process, which is kind of tedious and it kind of seems like a pain. And if you're trying to beat up your the guy at the shop and say, well, why doesn't the pump just come from the injection pump stand and be set up correctly? Well, because in the injection pump stand, that's an electric motor. You turn it on, it starts delivering fuel. That doesn't necessarily have all of your truck's setup involved in it. So this is why we're showing you guys this. All right, so it's one long beep. Now, heat grid, I hear it cycling. It's about 20 seconds, I think. And as soon as it starts cranking, very, very quiet.
Is it gonna work?
Hope so. This is the quietest we've ever been.
I don't think it's working.
It's gonna work. I got 325.
I got 313.
It sounds a little soft.
Yeah.
It doesn't idle that strong. It's not got a lot of bark to it. So currently my idle RPM is about 600. Now, if I pull it into gear, actually, if I turn the air conditioning on, air conditioning wasn't that bad. Steering wheel's maybe 25 to 50. Okay. So I got about 600 RPM idling, and the truck's at least 60, 65 degrees because it sat in the garage all night long. The air conditioning barely bounces attack. Moving the steering pump moves it maybe 25 to 50. and pulling it into gear dropped it down to probably 450, maybe 400, something like that. Now, if you're in a parking lot and you're trying to like weave out of a parking stall or something like that, you're going to end up having to rest your toe on the brake and your toe on the gas pedal, and it's kind of annoying and stupid. So we're going to go through all this today, show you guys how to fix that stuff. And Mitch, what do you think? Since we're only idle at 600 RPM right now, what's step one, you figure?
Bump the idle up starters.
So we're going to take the idle adjustment screw on the side of the injection pump.
Yep.
We'll bump that up. Seems like a pretty good logical spot.
We'll start it out if I can try and get it about 800 RPM.
About 850, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Now, just a little bit ago, there was an injection pump right here. Where's that sucker at, Mitch?
It's over on the bench.
Let's go. I'm going to grab that just to show everybody what we're going to adjust first.
There you go.
So this stud right here, that one right there, when we raise that up even a quarter turn, we've got to reset this jam nut. And they're both 10 millimeter. They're kind of a bear to get to with wrenches, but you need to get two 10 millimeter combination end wrenches down there. We're going to rotate this up. Let's start with about a half turn, and then we'll reset the jam nut, get everything snugged up. What that's going to do is when it comes back down to idle, it's going to rest on that stud. Now, the further forward that we go with that, the more fuel we're going to give it. So step one, we're going to get it to where it idles the correct RPM, and we'll keep doing the remote start thing to see how that works. Next topic, this motor's brand new fresh, and we've got piano wire stuffed in the cylinder head it's just an O-ring, and it puts more pressure on the factory firing. And I just had Mitch pull the head studs for what, the fourth time? Fifth time.
Yep.
Just making sure we get that piano wire to sink into the factory O-ring or firing, and make sure that we don't have a leaky head gasket. But since we just did that and we didn't have a leak yesterday, I'm sure it's just a valve cover gasket that got pinched or rolled. So we got to fix that as well.
There's one flat.
It's one flat?
Yep.
Okay.
I like starting there.
So a flat is like an eighth of a turn, right? So I'll jump in it, and instead of waiting the 20 seconds for remote start, I'll start it, but I promise not to use toe. Since I've been driving this truck, I've had to use toe. So makes me, out of habit, want to rest my toe there and start it. It started better, and it idles about 850 right now. So you went about one flat,
That's
so like
one
an eighth
flat.
of a turn.
Exactly.
And we're already up to the desired RPM.
Yep.
Now, knowing what I know, we were losing about 150 RPM from like 600 down to about 450. We have not adjusted anything to fix that yet. So we're gonna start this 2 or 3 times. Get your stopwatch out and let's time it. So what, I had like 3 1/4 seconds. You had like 3:15, is that right?
Yeah, something close to that.
All right.
Okay.
Ready, set, go.
.33.
Okay, so let's try it again.
Go for it.
Ready, set, go.
.245.
Less than 2.5, more than 2.
Yep.
Okay, so we have not adjusted anything to do with how the Govenor is going to control the torque load. So I'll do that, and just for giggles, I'm going to rest my toe on the gas pedal. It's quick. I'm going to say that's 850 with no load and about 650 with a load. So now I would say we come out a click on the Govenor spring, but we will lose some idle RPM.
Yeah.
So what we probably need to do is we probably need to pull all of the Govenor springs out and the idle spring, and then check to see how much shim we got under there.
Yep.
Because it's acting like it's got too much tension on the idle spring. Would you agree?
Sure. Yeah.
You think
definitely. I think that's what we should do.
Okay.
We'll pull one out and see what it looks like where it measures out at, and then we'll go from there.
Mitch would have been, what, 45 minutes or so?
Yeah, about that.
About 45 minutes. Mitch went ahead, pulled all the components out of one half of the Govenor, and not to our surprise at all.
Yeah,
We had way too much tension on the idle spring. Now, we have been selling this comp Govenor spring kit for a very long time, and for years we've shipped it with this Govenor spring right here, which is one that we had made, and it's a bit stiff. So, because we were trying to get the start ability better, we went back to the drawing board and actually the Bosch book, and then I just found a lighter idle spring. So this spring is something that we can get to you anytime, and in any of the new comp Govenor spring kits, what you're going to end up seeing is inside one end of this Govenor spring, this thing's like a Harley Davidson valve spring, it's super stiff. Now, on the top hat of your Govenor retainer, we've opened this up with a Dremel tool and let it allow to sit nice and flat. Then your idle spring is the only other spring at that point, and that's all you got. That's our Govenor spring kit right there. Well, you've been given for a very long time this thicker, heavier spring, and although it may help out a little bit with the upper end RPM, you're losing out on the start ability and the drive ability and the torque response. So we're just gonna get rid of that guy for now. We're gonna go to this other spring. We've got those in stock, usually, most all the time. And anybody who buys a comp Govenor spring kit from us now is gonna get it just like this. Pay attention to this. This Govenor spring, on the end that we've opened up, that has to go towards the retainer. On the other end that's not opened up, that retainer will not sit flat or flush on there. You will not get these things to ever calibrate or idle correctly or work correctly that way. So always the retainer towards the open side, nice and flat, nice and level. Now, along with the update of the spring, Bosch uses a couple of different part numbers. That's 200, 102, 624, and also a 623. 623s are about 0.3 millimeters thick.
Yep, so we measured it at.
624s are like, what was it, 0.5?
Yeah, 0.5.
0.5. So we've had good success with one of the 0.3 millimeter shims underneath this light idle spring. So I would say that for our first attempt at this, putting it back together,
Yeah, for
we
sure.
go back to what we've tested, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, again, this just left the pump shop, and unfortunately we gave him the wrong springs to put in this thing.
Our fault.
And also, he had two shims underneath that idle spring. He's got a recipe that he likes to follow, and we're about to see how this thing starts and runs, because you measured this at what, almost 80 thousandths?
Yeah.
Yeah, or almost 0.8 millimeters.
Yeah, 0.8 millimeters.
So there was a lot of tension. This is a much stiffer spring with a lot of tension under it,
That's
which
why
is
it wouldn't
why
idle
it wouldn't
well.
start, wouldn't idle, wouldn't
Yep.
do all the things. So we'll let you go for right now. We'll put a 0.3 millimeter shim underneath this spring with the exact same idle springs, and we will set those, what do you figure, like 4 clicks in?
It was at 3,
Yeah?
so I figure we'll go back 3, see what it does.
Go back 3, see what it does. So we're only changing the one thing, which
Exactly.
is the idle spring and then the shim adjustment.
Exactly. Yep.
So-
one thing at a time.
Do that and see what happens. So, all right, we'll get you on time lapse right now, and you can watch me stand over Mitch and tell him what to do and point at things and
Be
act
the
like I
boss.
know something. Yeah, I'm gonna go get my platinum covered shovel and stand there holding it. All right, so let's do it, guys. We had two shims, one thick, one thin. Mitch, you pulled two shims out,
Correct.
put one shim back in.
Yes, sir.
So now we have like a 10 thou thick shim in there.
Yep.
We used to have about 30 thousandths of an inch worth of shim.
Exactly.
And we went with a a softer spring. So
On the idle.
on the idle spring, yeah.
Yep.
It's the exact same Govenor spring, you guys, but our idle spring is now a lot less tension, right? So in all theory, we're gonna start this. We're gonna have less engine RPM at idle because we've got less tension on that, right?
Yes, sir.
So theoretically, we're gonna have to go up on the idle rod even further
Yep.
than just 45 minutes ago. This thing was idling about 850, but it didn't have any torque response.
Exactly.
So we had too much tension. Now we don't have enough tension probably. So we're about to find out.
Let's find out.
Here's the moment. So I counted like 3+,
Yeah, roughly.
and I see about 450 engine RPM at idle.
A little low.
So we're gonna have to go up on the idle rod, just as we just did a few minutes ago.
Yep.
We'll get that to about 850, and hopefully by then I don't have to. Now, just for kicks, just to see if our governor's gonna act correctly, I'm gonna rest my toe on this thing.
There you go.
That wasn't bad. Yeah, I didn't really
Try again.
Yeah. So that's like 850 right there. It's gonna be crispy.
It'll be good. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
think
we got
that's gonna do it.
We got 400 RPM to gain using the idle rod, which I just showed you guys how to do on the side of the injection pump. So he'll have the 10 millimeter wrench on the top, go up. He'll have to, since he's going up, he may not have to reset that jam nut unless he has to break it free first. He fits in there so good. Like, some dudes are just really good mechanics. I had to force my way into being a mechanic. I just don't fit anywhere well. Mitch finds ways to get into spots that without tearing himself up. I come out looking like I fought with a bunch of mice. We've got one more of these trucks in the yard that we need to get kind of a little bit better as well. So this would be a really good day just to figure out how to set up Governor Springs. Hopefully we can get to the AFC housing and calibrating the AFC settings. So,
Okay, there's 2 flats.
2 flats?
Yep, I want to give
Okay.
a little bit of a jump.
Just shy of 600.
Give it a couple more.
So it came up like 200 probably, but we still probably got 200-ish and a little bit more to go. This pump, this is one of our, this is, so backstory to what we just discovered is the first 12.5 millimeter pump that we had Kevin calibrate was this one. So that's why we had the wrong springs in it, because we discovered stuff after that with him and got things better dialed in.
Much better.
Hear that governor bounce?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're idling at about 850-ish, maybe a little bit better. As soon as I pull it into gear, it drops down about 150-ish. This is a fairly tight converter, so that's gonna be kind of normal, I guess.
Yeah, the converter is
But
super tight.
at idle, the governor is bouncing just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So in my pea-brain head, I'm thinking that we don't have enough tension on the governor spring kit
I agree.
yet.
Yep.
So I would say that what we probably should do is go in a click per side to add some pre-tension, because the idle spring's quite a bit longer than the governor spring anyways.
Yep.
And now that we've gotten rid of a pile of tension, we went back to like 1 soft and 2 firm clicks.
Yeah,
So I think we need to go in 1 click on both sides of the governor,
I think so.
try and put a little bit more tension there and try and control some of that governor bounce.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to mess up what you just did to my idle.
Yep.
but
That's an easy fix.
it's pretty much what we got to do. So
Starter's getting slower.
we should definitely put the battery charger on it just so it's like a fair,
Yeah.
because getting this thing set up with a dead battery. I'm just gonna fire it up and let it idle for a second, just so I can see if that governor bounce is going. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put the battery charger on it so we can keep cranking at the same rate of speed. But I can tell you right now, going in, one click on the governor springs has eliminated all of that governor bounce. So it's dead steady and dead stable. It's very crispy. You can tell the motor's happy right now, but we're idling at 975 RPM. So we got to pull that down a little bit using that rod on the side of the pump. And then I'm going to pull this thing in gear right now, just see what that's like. That's about perfect. Like we lost about 100 RPM.
That's much better.
So if we can, it's happier. Like the motor, the governor's definitely happier.
Yep.
So that's a 10,000 shim, right?
Yes.
And that's 4 clicks in on the governor springs.
Yep.
So you're gonna go down with the idle screw, and then you're gonna have to snug up that jam nut on the bottom, right?
Correct.
So we're so close. And unfortunately, like I say, the batteries, this thing hasn't been driven very much, really, since we put it together. Definitely not daily. And batteries getting a little bit low, so we got the battery charger on there. We'll get them warmed back up and see how this thing cranks and starts. Take it for a quick drive. Then we'll work on how I like to set up my Android housings is I start with taking the AFC housing off the truck, put it on the bench, make sure that my governor lever or the AFC foot is set in the middle of its elevation. I'll show you how to do that. We're gonna put two full turns of tension against our long AFC spring. And then we're gonna set the star wheel right smack dab in the middle. That way I've got tons of adjustment up and down. I've got tons of adjustment for the smoke screw, and we've got tons of adjustment for the AFC pre-tension or overall tension. So I just put everything 50%. We'll do that for you here in just a little bit once we get this straight and square. You good?
Good. Try it.
Yep. My toes aren't nowhere near the gas pedal.
No.
I'd say it's going to be perfect as soon as the batteries are charged up.
Yeah.
So,
That's pretty good.
no, I'm not upset. That's probably down 50-ish. Can you go down like
Yep.
another?
I'm gonna go one more flat. That should
Oh,
fix
so that was one flat back?
Just one flat.
Okay, so, when we mentioned flat, if you picture like, a bolt having 8 sides on it, he's rotating that basically 1/8 of one turn is what a flat means to us. So he's not come down very far. We've lost maybe 50 RPM. We get down another 50. I like about the 850 range where they idle. When these things are cold versus hot, there's gonna be a little bit of a deviation there. But if you set everything like we're setting it, that deviation is not very far off. If you don't know how to do this and you don't know how to set it up and you don't have, I can sell you those shims. They're not very much money at all. And it's probably good rather to have too many shims and not enough. And you may have, with just our springs, you might have more than enough shims in your injection pump right now. But, refer to this video. Please like it. Please thumbs up it. I'd like more 12 Valve guys to learn how to do this stuff, and you guys sharing that and just liking it spreads it a little bit better for us. But basically, you can get your truck to act this way. If you start your truck cold and it idles at 500 or 600 RPM, and then when it's warm at 700 or 800 RPM, your governor springs are just way far off and they're way far out of calibration. So all of this video is being broadcast to you so you guys can fix all that stuff, straighten it out, and make it a lot better. I wish they wouldn't have done that.
Right.
Quitter. So the only thing I'm noticing, if you ever get something with too much tension on the governor springs, as you start to put your toe on the gas pedal, RPM will go from say 800 to 900 to 1,000. Then it gets to a point where it just goes up to 14 or 1,500. The governor springs are actually way too tight at that point. You'd have to back things out and soften them up. This truck's still not doing that. Now as I go up, it's nice and smooth on the sweep up. And then when I relax, it comes down to idle. And then it kind of bounced once or twice. Mm-hmm. So theoretical, we probably could go in another turn on our governor springs right now, because we've fixed almost everything, but it's still not absolutely perfect. Like it's not
perfect.
It's not starting perfect.
It'll start a little bit faster still.
It can.
Yeah.
So even though this is if you read the overhead on the backside of your sun visor,
this is impossible.
This is perfect. And yeah, this is better than perfect.
Yeah.
But, this is 2024. We're building back better. And, Dodge in 1997 didn't know how to do this, I guess. So I vote we go in another click on the governor springs.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's kind of a pain. It's tedious. I wish I had a laptop and I could just turn it up and fix it, but I don't. So our laptop is, basically a Stanley toolbox. And we can do things like that with this laptop, I guess. So, Mitch, I'd say one more adjustment.
Yeah, do one more.
We're so close. Big rig ready. Let's drop the idle just a tickle. We're definitely not nowhere near 3 seconds crank time now. So close, I'm guessing that the next time we play with this, we can hit remote start and I bet it fires right up. 10,000 shim.
Yep.
215 style idle spring, R5K governor spring.
Yeah.
4 clicks in or 5?
Now?
Yeah.
Currently, 5.
And you just adjusted the idle. This is going to be our maiden voyage.
Yes.
So it starts really good now. It used to be about 3 1/4 to, there's a bird. Now we got a bird in here. He's going to be trapped in here for a while. They ain't smart. Okay, so I'm going to hit this just to ensure that my toes aren't on the gas pedal. You're ready. 20 seconds.
It takes an eternity.
Maybe longer than 20 seconds? I wonder if it's not going to work just because the hood's open. Using remote start. So you don't have to rest your toe on the gas pedal to get it to work. So now that we've got our starting fixed, or dialed in, I should say, next we should. So recently we've changed torque converters in this truck.
Yeah.
We've pulled the transmission and sent the transmission to our tranny buddy to get a bunch of, this thing makes power. It drives around at 12, 13% throttle all day long. Most 12 valves don't do that, so we had to give this thing a lot more line pressure with a lot steeper line pressure curve. So John had the valve body, did a bunch of stuff, put more shafts in it. We just got the idle. This is the most time we spent working on this truck since we've got it running.
Yep, exactly.
My fault, 100% my fault. I spit the head gasket out of it because I didn't retorque the head studs. Got a little bit horny and
A little rowdy with
got a little rowdy and spit the head gasket out of her. Mitch fixed that up. We've now pulled the head studs 5 times.
Yep.
We're gonna go for 6 before we get real rowdy. We're not hitting the dyno until we do that probably. But I guess we could get, because it's a bit smoky right now. Like it's not horrendously smoky, but we could throw a GoPro on it, go for a quick drive around the block, show everybody what it's like.
Yeah.
And we could start dialing in the AFC spring just a little bit and
Yeah, we messed with the AFC just
minutes.
one time.
Yeah.
We just messed with it real quick like we would normally do. And it needs a lot of fine tuning
A lot.
from where it's at. So, but for now, I'm
Well,
going to drive.
go for a quick drive. Pretty much like 1700 RPM up to about 2100 RPM is where I could make it smoke the worst.
Yeah, right.
And it was loafy, like turbos, loafy meaning the turbos weren't spooling yet, the air wasn't leaving very fast, the exhaust just kind of loafed out the tailpipe, right?
Yeah.
All we've done so far is on the bench, we put things to kind of where we normally would.
Our normal startup setup.
But in our defense, like most guys are running, most of the stuff that we set up is 450 to 500, 600 horse.
Exactly, yeah.
So we're using like stage 1s and stage 2s most of the time. This pump has a lot better injection rate because 12.5 millimeter plungers and a decent cam. And we figured we'd throw a set of 4s at it because it's actually got enough turbo to support a set of 4s.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Plus we built enough motor to deal with that kind of abuse.
Yep.
So 4s are a bit big and we're gonna have to be a bit more conservative on our setup. So
Yeah.
you just did what with it?
I pulled 1/2 a turn out of the smoke screw.
So screw on the very back of the AFC housing. I will point at that and show you guys here in just a second. But you've pulled tension away from the spring.
Correct.
So it's gonna take more air pressure to start to preload that thing. So just after tip in, and tip in is like when you basically just breathe on the gas pedal, like moving around a parking lot. Just after tip in, you're starting to like load against that spring. Camera guy, let me show you something real quick. So inside here is our AFC spring, and here is the screw that pushes the tension on the AFC foot. So if I take this screw and back it all the way off, there's an AFC foot that'll pull all the way back. We had that 1.5 turns advanced already. We just took a 1/2 turn out of this. So we're gonna start to control about a 1/2 millimeter earlier in rack travel is where we're gonna start to control. So I'm gonna buzz around the parking lot real quick, and we're probably gonna have to pull it back in here. Probably gonna have to put some more tension on the AFC spring. Fair enough?
Yeah, I believe so.
And this thing's probably gonna be pretty damn close.
It'll be close.
We have a truck that starts good.
Yeah.
A truck that has good throttle response, good torque management on the bottom.
Yep.
Put it into gear, it doesn't stall. It's working really good. I wanted to put a set of stage 4s in that truck initially because I'm thinking It's got enough turbo. It's got enough everything.
Oh, yeah.
That is a big injector.
Yeah, very large.
We think that we think that we have it running pretty dang good.
Yeah, we've got it dialed in about as good as I think we can get it.
So, you know what I think?
What?
We start with a blank anyway. And that injector, like it's pretty clean, just kind of farting around the parking lot. Did a couple boosted launches, come around the corner, did one little power slide. I kind of want to drive it on the street for a day or two or three and see what I like and what I don't like about it.
Yeah, that's going to be the real tell.
Yeah.
Is see what kind of street manners it has. Now we spent a little time with it.
It's pretty good. I don't hate it. Just not sure I love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, it's just such a big injector to try and tame on a 12 valve.
In a parking lot.
Yeah,
I want to drive it for 2 or 3 days. That way I can figure out what I pull up to this stop sign every day. I drive away from that stoplight every day. I want to know what it's going to be like on the street in my daily life. Like I know there's enough fuel there to make more power than I need, but I'm thinking that what I want to do is spend 2 or 3 days driving it, and then next week we will, by then, have decided if we're going to try and maybe move 2 or 3 tenths of a thousandths of wire out of it. Because now that we have the head pulled tight enough that we can start dynoing it and beating on it a little bit,
Yeah.
I'm not scared of that anymore.
No.
I was scared. We're going to have a company here from DynoJet. Well, the guys from DynoJet will be here on the 14th and 15th. So we've got some things that we need to get squared away before they get here. And they're going to be here for 1 day, and I believe that's maybe a Monday, the 14th or 15th, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's Monday.
So 2 weeks out from now, you think?
Yep.
So I tell you what, Mitch, here's my thought. Let me drive it for a week. Let me see what I love it and what I hate about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe next week we'll bring some threes out. I might make some 3 1/4s, 3 1/2s, 3 3/4, 3 7/8s,
Yeah.
3 15/16. I don't know. Like we have all sorts of different wire and I can make whatever I want. So being spoiled, I think I want to try that.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'd like to make
cool.
it. We're going to get the thing on the dyno. We're going to go 1 injector, 2 injector, 3 injector, 4 injector.
Yep.
And find out what kind of power we gain just off injector changes only.
Yeah, for sure.
And ultimately, like I want to make the peak amount of horsepower as I can that's super, even more importantly than the peak number, I want it to be more drivable than I do just a peak number.
Yeah, it's not a race truck. It's not a sled puller. It's a street machine. So you want it to drive nice. You want it to make horsepower second.
I really want it to be like rowdy, yet just drive really, really, really well.
Exactly.
So give me a week. I'm pretty happy with all the improvements that we made today. You guys got to learn how to adjust Govenor springs a little bit. You got to pick up just a little bit of information about the smoke screw and the AFC housing. We can do more of that like on the dyno next week if we have to start moving the plate around, things like that. If we can find a stock fuel plate sitting around here.
I've got one somewhere.
So when we're on the dyno, and I've got a few of them in my toolbox, but
Yeah.
when we're on the dyno, I want to be able to show you guys like removing the plate versus a stock plate versus our plate and kind of explain to you what it is you think you're doing versus what it is you're really doing. Sometimes the dyno has a totally different opinion on what horsepower looks like versus what we think horsepower looks like. So we'll do a little experiment with that next Monday as well. And until then, like, I think I'm out. You?
Yeah.
Good?
I'm pretty happy with it.
I'm pretty happy as well.
I want to see it on the street. I want to see it driving around and what kind of smoke output it's got and the street manners that it's got now that we've spent some time on it. I'm very curious to see how it drives.
I've got to drive to Bozeman. I was going to take the 2019 because it's like from here to there about six-ish hours. So I was thinking about taking the 2019, but right now I'm kind of flirting with driving the 1997. I just got to go pick up an exhaust kit, turn around, and come back.
There
so,
you go.
you know, it's not like it'd be overloaded.
No.
But yeah, see you guys next week. Thanks for stopping.
See ya.